everyone. Learning never stops. Despite the overwhelming consequences of the pandemic, this global crisis has also been extraordinary time for learning. We are learning how adaptable and resilient educational systems, policymakers, teachers, students, and family can be. In this documentary highlighting the threats of COVID, school lockdowns, the adjustment and adaptations on teaching and learning modalities, with special focus on how teachers has the pandemic changed their roles and how systems have supported them in their new role. Also, how they quickly adapt and interact to facilitate learning. Let us watch this documentary. This is what it's like to be a teacher during coronavirus pandemic.
What day is today?
Today is Monday, September 3, 2018. It is a glory day.
Mayong buntag mga bata.
May buntag Teacher Judy, may buntag classmates, umakoy, may buntag tita mo.
Magandang umaga mga bata.
Magandang umaga po, binibining Judy. Magandang umaga kasi at makoy, nagdadalawang buntag tita ni Judy.
Good morning, children.
Good morning, Teacher Judy. Good morning, classmates. And makoy, I'm glad to see you again.
Okay.
The past 2 weeks, the number of cases of COVID-19 outside China has increased 13-fold. We have therefore made the assessment that COVID-19 can be characterized as a pandemic.
Suspension of face-to-face instruction in schools during the COVID-19 pandemic has led to concerns about consequences for students' learning. The effect of schools closure on basic education schools' performance reveal a significant learning loss. The most affected students are from less educated homes, confirming worries about the uneven toll of the pandemic on less fortunate children and families.
The usual way or the usual routine was like you go to school, you attend the classes, or even before attending the classes, you have to do a gate duty, wherein every teacher needs to be in front of the gate, greeting the parents, opening the door of the cars. You greet the students as well, and then you lead them to, to which way should they go, and to check whether they're wearing the school ID, the school uniform, the right socks, the right shoes before they can fully enter into the building premises.
Because we had a larger amounts of time available in pre-COVID times. And as a result, we were able to do more, accomplish more.
When you're face to face, you can right away check how they're doing it. Like, for example, teaching them how to do indentation face to face. You can say, you start writing here, and then from there, you move on, you continue. If you're doing face to face, you can do more strategies.
In the International Baccalaureate program are geared towards understanding how scientists work. So there are a lot of laboratory works that the students need to do, and a lot of laboratory reports that they need to write, similar to how scientists basically report their scientific paper.
And in Sweden, we are product-based. We do not focus much on the grammar, because grammar alone is just a naked knowledge, and we cannot assess if they can write the text just with grammar alone. So we let the students produce product, like for example, the 4 skills is what you have mentioned.
I'm Jayfer Gonzalez, and I've been an alumnus from the Mindanao State University, but I moved here after working for 2 years in the Philippines. And currently I've been teaching in a government school, which is Nawamintra Chinotit Budindecha School.
Hello, my name is Dirashni Duki. I'm actually a teacher, a biology teacher in South Africa. I've been teaching biology to grade 10s to grade 12 for the last 27 years.
I'm Teacher Jade. I'm teaching in Jakarta right now. I've been teaching in Jakarta since 2006. And This school year, I'm teaching grade 2, and I've been teaching grade 2 since I started in Sampurna in 2016. I teach 3 subjects: English, math, and science.
I am Mr. Kingsley Bourbon. I'm currently teaching in Mentari, International School, Intercultural School with Bintaro in Tangerang, Indonesia. This is my 10th year teaching in an international school, but I had 10 years experience teaching in a Chinese school with Philippine curriculum back in the Philippines.
So I'm Annalyn Londres, and I'm a teacher here in Sweden, and I have been teaching for 5 years already. My first teaching experience was in a high school, a government high school in Sweden, and then after that, I moved to a government school as well, but my school is more of an adult education.
When you're teaching young kids, the very bottom line of teaching is you have to get their trust. You have to get, you have to get in touch with their affection. It's more emotional. So the best teaching practice would always be, you have to know their interests. You have to connect with them. We actually have lunch date together once a week, just for me to reach out to them, so we get to know, we talk, so they also feel comfortable with you. That is always the best practice for teaching kids. But technicality, I think, just make your class lively, because just sitting around is really boring already, and you have to make your presentations really, you have to prepare a lot. That is, think of some activities that even if they're just sitting down, they would enjoy listening to you or doing the tasks, like that. Planning, it's really it takes a lot of. If I teach grammar, it's always boring if they always have live worksheets, right? Because live worksheets, underline. So Pinterest will have projects like for pronouns, so they have to do some artworks. So Pinterest. And the teachers pay. Science is also the most challenging subject, because we are required. The Singaporean. Now we're doing Cambridge. It's requiring us to do at least 80% of the time hands-on experiment. I am just very lucky and happy that the parents provide the materials that I ask them to prepare. And sometimes I also ask help from them. Like, for example, if I need assistance from them, I really send email 3 days before the experiment, 2 days before the experiment, 1 day before the experiment, and during the day of the experiment, just to remind them, these are the mechanics, these are the materials. So, well, it works, but
And
it
the kids
takes
are
a
really
lot.
doing the experiments.
The kids do, yes, the
So it's like
kids
a
do
home
the
lab,
experiment.
right? Home lab.
Yes.
No, but are you not
True.
scared? Maybe like is the how about the risk? Because usually we have some risk to consider when doing labs.
Well, we always try to do one that is very well child friendly. But if in case, for example, they need to use fire, heat, for example, or they need to use blenders, electricity, something like that, we always, yeah. But math is easier among all 3 subjects, because math is like drills, and as long as there's the book, and thank you to Jamboard, everything can be explained.
So you're doing everything in Jamboard. They can, because
Jamboard, yes.
students will also have an access to the Jamboard, right? So everyone can write.
Yes, the kids now, yes.
Okay.
And there are a lot of websites to do hands-on. Math Playground, Matholia, Qubits. So math is one that is with the lighter load for.
But right now, everything is digital. So you gotta have to find some platforms wherein whenever you want to put them in a group, you have to go for a online random wheel. Whenever you want to put the different names into different groups, you have to have the random theme generator. Whenever you want to put like, you want to talk about them and you have to talk about the way how you're going to present, then use the Canva or maybe in other kind of platforms wherein they have to be able to integrate the ICT as well, because going into the traditional form is not going to be the best. We are in the advent of really focusing into the ICT integration, much more of like how to apply them directly with the students. Because we do not have much time. I'm not a computer teacher. So in short, the students have to figure out by themselves as well how to make creativity count. I think that students were having a hard time at the very beginning, but later on, they figure out that the more you practice in doing it and using it, it's an added skill for them because a combination between asynchronous and synchronous, primarily because not everybody can be discussed within a 50-minute time period. So most probably the 3 groups will be presenting within today, and then the next group will be presenting the same within tomorrow. It's some sort of like that. Yeah, but they have all the processes and they can do some DIYs, whatever they want, but at the same time more on a classroom based. Yeah, it should be accepted within the class.
We went into online. Yes.
Online.
And that was basically dictated by the school. So the school decided on this online approach, and we were then forced. Thing is, then the mode then changed my teaching style as well. Okay. So for example, a typical lesson would have been kids come in. We basically did a bit of recap of the previous lesson. I went through, for example, homework worksheets just to assess the actual amount of understanding of learners and the ability of the previous day's lesson. And then I would basically start with my lesson for the day. As I said previously, it would start with some kind of demonstration, some kind as a motivation kind of thing. I relied a lot on group work and individual work, okay? So group work where they basically work on their own, materials were given to them, they were able to read through it, draw up their own notes, come to conclusions and so forth. So that changed a lot as well, simply because of the fact that group work was not possible. Although we used teams and we had breakout groups, it was much more difficult then to actually, for one educator to basically be going into different groups as such, and in that amount of time, and making sure that each group basically did justice of the top of the work.
Basically, in terms of strategies, there's not much difference as well. However, in terms of the platform, you need to really transition to something more appropriate. Like when you teach physics, you need say for instance graphing tools and graphing materials. You also need to demonstrate how to solve problems. So you need to find the most appropriate platform in order to do that. It takes teachers time to really find the appropriate platforms, like say how to substitute the blackboard, how to substitute the grid board online, how to substitute demonstrations in order for students to get a better grasp of concepts. So that's where the challenge came in. So we need to explore some iPad apps. We also explored some simulation based activities for them for us to substitute demonstrations in class in developing concepts. And most importantly, we need to explore some other interesting platforms to catch their attention right in the beginning of lessons, like instead of having games physically, we can also do that online through Kahoot or maybe Padlets and some other platforms.
So how the students receive this one? Did they enjoy, or how about their attitudes towards this new platform?
That is a very difficult question to answer, because one challenge I personally experienced during the home-based learning is assessing students' understanding. Because even though they switch on their videos, you cannot immediately see reactions, you cannot immediately see facial expressions, you cannot immediately elicit immediate reactions to whatever you are presenting, the more that we are not able to assess their interest in terms of the games and the other activities that we do in class. However, looking at assessment scores, I could tell that there is not much difference.
These are formative assessments, right?
I'm speaking of formative assessments as well as the actual IB
Classroom
scores.
summatives. Yeah.
Students who did, I could personally tell that students who did their experiments or individual investigations hands-on, and those who are doing simulation-based did not get any significant differences in their scores.
Teaching during a pandemic, what are the issues that you have encountered?
Motivations, discipline. I guess those are quite hard to. Even you as a teacher, even you are disciplined to do your job, but somehow you lose your motivation as well. Quite hard, especially to those students who are diagnosed with something. So they don't get, like face-to-face help, the kind of help that they really need. So that is still our problem, motivations and discipline.
Okay.
But I guess I have reflected that whatever form of education we offer to students, as long it doesn't work to those students who are lazy, who are here for just for the money's sake, for the allowance sake, but to those students who have really clear goals and objectives that, okay, I wanted to finish this subject for this course because they wanted to further their studies to university. They do, whether we do that in class or online.
However, there are some times as well wherein there are really these students who are not doing anything. They're not coming to the class. They're not doing and passing any different kinds of projects and activities. And so we are already asking the help of our boss, because even though we are advisors, but we have the TI advisors as well. So it's the TI advisors who's going to be responsible, calling the parents and doing some internal arrangement stuff. So these students of mine are not doing anything, not just to my subject, but even to others. So what my boss told me, if they're not doing anything, let them be, because at the end of the term, they're going to be the one chasing after you. Really, what's really taking a toll on me is that the same feedback that you gave this week will be the same feedback you'll be giving at the end of the month. Because nobody does the thing. So as a teacher, even though you have the patience, but as a teacher, the same patience that you're extending face-to-face is the same amount of patience that you need whenever you're doing the online classes.
It's a major factor because, we basically had two 25-minute periods in a session. So I had 50 minutes, 3 times a day. And what happened there is the problem, you prepare the perfect lesson, you prepare the perfect questions or whatever, but the way in which you get learners to answer, learners take longer to respond. Simply because you're calling out for a learner, then the excuse as usual, they've got Wi-Fi issues, you've got breaks in connectivity, they cannot see your PPT, they cannot see you sharing your screen. All of these factors actually prevented me on many occasions from actually completing the lesson that I had planned. On face-to-face, we basically had 40 minutes times 2, which was 80 minutes. So that was greatly reduced, and that was a very a sore point with all of us, simply because we were expected to complete the same curriculum in a limited amount of time. Because the curriculum itself did not change. The requirements didn't change, but the actual content was supposed to be delivered in a short. Initially, it was exciting. So kids paid attention, they tried to get involved. But as time went by, what you need to remember is the school day started for them around 8 o'clock and continued to about 1, 2 o'clock. And then the kids obviously got tired, and they began to actually skip lessons. They basically gave you the normal no Wi-Fi connectivity excuse. The attitudes changed. And I think they also caught on after a term or two that they actually were going to pass no matter what. It was like as if we owed them something. And because of the actual average or mediocre kind of content lessons that they were receiving, their attitudes changed, they became tired. And then, of course, you must remember the weaker kids are the ones that are normally not into lessons, took advantage of the situation and didn't actually participate as much as they should. In South Africa, Wi-Fi is quite expensive. It's not easily accessible. The quality of Wi-Fi is not good enough. The school did not assist us in any way whatsoever. It then became the responsibility of the teacher to actually gain this. When it came to resources, unfortunately, we were given zero resources. You must remember this was something that nobody had planned on. So of course, the materials that we could have used.
Had reports on academic honesty. That is why the school also responded to the need, say, our summative assessments before were less secured. So the school tried to explore on some other more secure platforms. So we opted to use exam.net, wherein we can administer the test in high security mode, and if the students open some tabs in their computer, it will automatically lock them and they cannot continue on with the exam. So it comes with, of course, expenses, because exam.net is not for free. There is no personal touch to the teaching anymore. That's what I personally felt. Before, you can pat students' shoulders on every time they scored poorly in exams, but now you cannot do it anymore. Aside from that, mentoring time is lessened because students are also overworked. At the same time, we avoid giving them homeworks which requires them to do extra screen time, because that would also be difficult for teachers extending their screen times.
I personally would want to say that I love this kind of mode of teaching because I can save time. I don't have to, I do not have to waste much more time in preparation, taking a bath,
Really?
and stuff like
Prep
that.
is not an issue for you, because for me, like,
Well,
I think like prep, like, it's a lot of my time when it comes to online teaching.
Yeah. Well, I think personally, because we do have some evaluation from time to time as well, and I think based on the feedbacks coming from my bosses, it seems like the PowerPoint presentations or even the way the strategy is like an approved for them. So I think I am still on the right track of doing this one, and I think that this mode of teaching is really an advantage for me, primarily because I can save time. Yeah. Because at school, I'm the teacher who has a 24 unit load. Apart from that, the other teachers has only 18. So I'm the most workaholic teacher in my department, primarily because I'm the newest one. So that means even though like I have lots of time to teach, I can still save time if I'm just working at home. But the problem is that whenever it takes a month or two by staying just at home, you kind of feel a little bit depressed because you're not seeing somebody.
You felt like I don't know if you feel the same way. I always call myself a prisoner. You're earning money while at the same time you're being locked.
Oh yeah, right. Yes, sir. That's really true. But yeah, but I do not want to discount the opportunity of having face to face. But just to tell you honestly, at the beginning of November, we did 1 week of face to face.
Yeah, I heard about it. So how did it go?
Yeah, everything was really real. I mean, it was surreal. Every student were really having so much fun and having some
It was just a
joy.
week.
But unfortunately, it was just a week because a family and one of my students, which I have had the chance to be, in direct contact with that student, got COVID positive. But they are asymptomatic.
But you were already vaccinated during that time.
Yeah, I got the 2 vaccines, and after that, I also had my saliva test and my ATK test, but turned out to be negative. So it was just like telling to my students, it's good that before we end the term, maybe we met for a week, and after that, saying hello again to the online.
Are you looking forward for the face to face?
Well, yes, I do. I am really looking forward because it seems like I'm sharpened teaching online, but I need to be sharpened more teaching face to face again. because I forgot how to teach and how to deal properly with students, because behavior, time, everything really changes when it comes to face and just meeting them online.
How about
Yeah.
like what do you think would be the new normal of teaching English now? Like after we're done with COVID, do you think everything will go back to normal, or there will be really a big change in teaching English after
That's a great question.
after this pandemic ends?
Yeah. I personally do not have any idea if everything's gonna go back to normal. But what I'm always putting into my mind is that whenever there are COVID presence, whenever there's a COVID presence around, whatever variant would it be, you need to learn to live with it in a normal time basis. So by the time that somebody had contracted the virus at school, I just kept on telling my students, like, you know what? You don't have to panic. Learn to live with COVID. Because the moment you panic, you're really gonna get out of your mind. So I think when it comes to the teaching the English language, it's the same thing. You can always go back to the conventional. You can add up more intervention when it comes to the learning the language, but the virus is still there. So you have to cope with it, and you need to learn to teach the language, even though with the presence of COVID or without the presence of
So
COVID.
you're already anticipating that there comes a time that everyone has to go to school, and then later on, like, okay, next week I think everyone needs to go online because we have a situation, and then back to school again. It's just like it's
Well,
very flexible, right? Face to face,
yes,
online,
yes,
face to
precisely.
face, online. Okay.
Yes, precisely. Yeah, I'm really anticipating with that. I've already experienced that for 3 times already in my previous school and now in this school. So I think I have fully adjusted, but it's just that even though you have fully adjusted, you need people around. Yeah, we are not a loner here. So I think from time to time you have to meet your friends, or you have to meet some Filipinos as well back here in Thailand, because you need some socialization, to brighten up your day and to fight off the
That's why you canceled
depression.
our meeting last night, right? Because you played badminton, right?
Yes, yes, exactly.
For example, post pandemic as
Post-COVID,
well, teachers can actually rely on it a lot. COVID, sorry, yes. And teachers will actually rely on it more to get to students that are ill and away from school. So it can assist teachers a lot, but a lot of groundwork still has to be done, mostly in underdeveloped countries with regards to resources and stuff to assist teachers. And we must remember as well that nobody trained us at all in teaching online. Okay, we were just thrown into the deep end. Many people weren't even sure how to actually even use the different platforms that were given to us. So it was a learning curve for teachers as well as for learners. But I think that in time, with more experience and more exposure, and I think that lots of companies and people are actually going online, making more videos, more resources are becoming accessible. And I think schools are now investing in extra materials, because remember, it's also for schools that are very financially limited. It was not, nobody knew the time scale, the actual timeline that this was going to stretch out over. So for these schools to actually spend large amounts of money on resources was in fact very unjustified. So as a result, schools as well did not know how much to actually invest in this. Okay, but I think now the reality of the situation is dawning on them, and they're definitely going to invest more in it. And hopefully it will take us a step closer to quality education.
Well, I'm not, everything is very unpredictable nowadays, but well, we started with hybrid.
Yeah. Let's talk about the hybrid. How are you doing the hybrid this time?
Actually, it's difficult managing two different media, the online and the offline, simultaneously.
So some kids are at home while kids are in front of you.
Yes. There are 11 kids in the class, and then there are 7 kids online. And sometimes when they ask, Miss, how about you don't know who's calling me? Is it the one online or is it the one in the class?
Okay,
But
so it's
good
really
thing we have assistants.
Yeah. Okay, so you have teacher assistants to look after the kids who are doing online, and this is by shift.
No, I do the online.
Okay.
I'm the one who does online, and she's the one assisting the one inside the classroom.
And this is
so I
by
have to
shift.
orient her.
How about those kids online? When are they going to school? Or is there
Because it's their preference.
preference? It's not shifting. It's just like
No, not shifting.
yeah.
And you know kids, right? Just walk around in the mask. Sometimes it's just in here. So you have to check your mask. You have to check social distancing.
And you're still using
no
that social
eating.
distancing, what to call that one? That one that rings.
We have
gives us
UWB, the ultra
UWB.
wide band. That
Okay.
once that you get closer than 1.5 meters, it rings the entire time. So,
Okay.
but good thing, everyone's safe.
Okay. So how about you? Are you looking forward to go back to pure face to face, or do you think a life will be this way, hybrid?
Of course, I prefer if it's online, just all online. If it's face to face, just all face to face.
Not hybrid.
But I think not hybrid. It's really tiring.
Okay.
But because you also have to prepare for both. So if you prepare a group activity for your online for your face to face, which we encourage because that's the purpose of why they have to come to school so they can interact. You also have to prepare a special group activity for the online because they can't be the same because the situations are not the same.
The modality
right?
is different. That means activities and assessments will also be different then.
Yes, true.
They
That's
should be
true.
parallel to the modality. Okay.
Like a while ago in math, we did centers. For the first time, we did centers. So in the classroom, I set up. And then online, I have to have different stations using different links too. So you should have different, you should plan. Sometimes you'll wonder too how you survive. Well, that's our life.
I wonder what keeps you going until this time.
I think all teachers would be very resilient.
I think I think thanks to BTS, right? You still have a life.
For taking care of our mental health.
Since the COVID cases here in Indonesia is improving in the sense that the number of the new cases every day are going down, we tried, based on the government's suggestion, to do hybrid learning, and we have been doing it since September. So we're very happy that with our hybrid learning, none so far in terms of COVID infections happened in school, and that the students were positively responding to the new setup. They felt that their focus were better and that their learnings are better. That's based on what we heard feedbacks from students.
By the way, how does hybrid teaching work in Mentari? How do you define hybrid learning?
Oh, hybrid is we divide students in two groups. Those who opted to do full HBL at home and those who wanted to go to school.
Okay.
And then out of those who decided to go to school, we divided them into groups A and group B. So say, for example, if group A decides to go to school, they will be going to school for 2 consecutive weeks. Now, lessons are conducted simultaneously. Like students who are attending physically will receive the same lecture with those who are at home through the platforms that the school designed. However, during assessments, the teacher could monitor individually those who are physically present, while at the same time, those who are at home who have questions could also raise their questions and could be answered through the platform. And then after 2 weeks, group A is going to do full HBL.
So it's 2 weeks. So A now would be home-based
the cycle
learning.
continues on.
Then B again will be in school.
Yes.
Okay. But how about assessment? Like for summative assessments, like for those who are doing home-based learning.
Summative assessments, we still do them full online. However, the students who are reporting to school physically will still have to do the summative assessment through the
Paper-based.
online platform. Yes.
Online platform, even for those students who go to school, they're going to take the summative test online, using the online
Online. Yes,
okay.
but they're physically present in school because the school is still scared to print papers that could be a medium of transmission. That's why we still did not decide to go back to the physical paper assessment.
How do you see this mode of teaching? Will this continue even after the pandemic, or
before we finished the semester, we have high hopes that we will be slowly returning back to face-to-face in January. However, with the Omicron threatening us again for spread right now, I don't think face-to-face will be imposed too soon. But the learnings that we had during this pandemic made us realize that teaching and learning could be done online, and there are a lot of good platforms that we could keep even after the pandemic. Paperless assessments could be done.
Yeah. Saves a lot of
especially if all students have laptops, even if they are all in one classroom, you can use the same exam.net and we save paper. While at the same time, keeping a copy of the students' assessments for a long time. Collaboration platforms could also be used even if students are in different places and at this different time zones. So actually, the pandemic is not bad at all. It teaches us to be resilient and to be creative, and at the same time, it forced us to think outside what we are usually doing in the academy. I know that the challenges were not just in one school, but this is a shared sentiment. However, all the creative juices of teachers could be combined together so that when another pandemic comes, we are more ready.
More ready.
Okay.
And we can already anticipate what is going to happen.
Yes, and we can already just quickly shift to home-based learning whenever there's a pandemic, and it should not be as difficult as it is right now.
So let me just get this clear. So you did not impose lockdown, but you were advised to do online teaching. But if the students really want to see the teacher, they can always go to school.
Yeah, sure.
That means even like during online teaching, the teachers report to school, only the students are at home.
Yeah, sure. Yes.
But they're always welcome to go to school.
They were always welcome before, but of course they had to book time with a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
They had to book time before. And now I think the situation is quite better. And I work 2 or 3 times a week at school, but my principal didn't ask me to do that. It is my decision to be at school because I realized that some of my students really need physical teaching, physical interaction, just that. But we were given, we have to decide for ourselves.
Okay.
The pandemic will not only have a possible long-lasting effects to our curriculum, but its lessons will lead to a more fundamental change in our outlook about teaching and learning. For now, we are all staying in our homes due to the lockdown policy implemented by the government. However, learning should not halt. Different countries worldwide have introduced various answers during the pandemic to continue the education process. The introduction of distance learning. With schools to reopen its doors in the near future, it's vital to plan how schools will be able to pursue their mission of implementing quality education to every student.